actually wanted to bring up a subject that Paul Brown from Racing Post takes credit for on a piece he did on Monday. And for those who didn't see it, the background related to Smallmead not getting into an open race at Monmore, um, due to a local rule that said that if a dog's beaten a distance and they want to see it trial. I gather John didn't understand. We then got into a little bit of a debate within the industry, I think, on social media, etc., about um, should tracks determine their own rules. Um, this was clearly a Monmore rule, one that John wasn't aware of. What are your own thoughts on it?
I think the regulator is there to set rules, and if people think, like the local tracks, etc., think there should be a rule change, well, put it forward for a motion to the rules committee, exactly like I've done on the DQs. They might not get through as quick as what people may well like. I'm certainly not that chuffed on how long it's took for my change on the DQs to go, but the tracks should go that way. I think bringing in rules locally is undermining the regulator, in my own thoughts. I'm not saying the rule, what they've done is wrong, and what their thoughts are of how it is wrong. I might even actually agree with them. But my view is, if there's rules for everybody, and the regulator sets the rules, and you go through the system. I don't like this where you can set your own rules locally. Imagine the FA Cup being played, let's say Long Eaton United, and Man United turn up there and they turn around and say, well, you have to foul twice before you get a penalty at our place. So, well, hang on a minute, that's not the rules. It's a local rule. It's, there's rules in place. We've got a regulator to set the rules. Let them do the job.
All right. Well, I'm the easy thing now for this is to kind of the Twitter mob rule, and everybody goes, yeah, let's go and burn the place down. I'm just going to be difficult for its own sake. I would say that those kind of rules are the kind that Monmore have in place, have always existed. I mean, GRA were kind of famous for them, and the most famous of all was dogs won't run in the derby if they've ever been disqualified. And of course, that was purely a GRA rule. In fact, originally, I think it was dogs. They wouldn't allow dogs to run in their classic races, including the Laurels, and when ultimately Wimbledon was taken over by GRA, if dogs had ever been disqualified. So that's always existed. It's interesting that if we're looking particularly at the Smallmead incident, in that I mean, John Mullins is one of my oldest friends in dog racing, and also one of the guys I would rate right at the very top of his profession. So when the bitch came out of a previous run at Crayford and was beaten a distance, if John said that she was fit to run, then I would have been with everybody else saying yes, she was fit to run, and I accept that. Interesting though.
I don't think people should make it a singular sort of argument regarding John Mullins' bitch. If I had a dog and I want training, I would give John a dog. So it's nothing to do with John Mullins, nothing really to do with Smallmead, I don't think. This is about whether local stadiums make rules which are racing sort of rules. They can make rules for their own stadium about their own public going in, etc., like that. This is about racing rules. Now, like I say, this isn't an attack on Monmore from me or anything like that, because I think they've probably got the rule right. It's that if rules are in place, it should be the regulator what puts these sort of rules in.
Yeah. So the point where I was going on this was this: if we are Monmore the ones that have got it right, because if we're thinking about Smallmead in particular, she ran as anybody expecting a John Mullins runner would run next time out, which was at Toaster, where she broke the track record, which I think we can all just about agree shows that there was nothing the matter with her. However, in a following race, a 5-dog race at Swindon, she finished last. Wasn't meeting very far. Had that Toaster run not come in between, and she had gone from the Crayford form to run and get beat at 1-3 in an open at Swindon, would there not have been a group of people, a parade of people going, it's an absolute disgrace, that bitch should never have run, she was beaten a distance in a previous run, she's got beat at 1-3, there's clearly something the matter with her, John Mullins doesn't know what he's doing, the tracks are to blame, the tracks shouldn't have accepted her for the race. So, in its own way, you can argue and say that um, there is some merit in that rule. Now, I'm not saying that I personally agree with it. I'm certainly just playing devil's advocate here, but you can see that it does act as protection.
Yeah, I never worry about these people on the sidelines who sort of shout in all the time, because half the time they don't put the name to anything. You've got the same old numpties, as I say it, what shout about anything and always looking for trouble. So I don't worry about those type of people. Whether it's got merit with the rule, like I say, I wouldn't disagree with it. They might have the rule right. Regarding how the bitch ran at Toaster, she run absolutely brilliant at Toaster. The Swindon, for actually someone genuinely who understands racing, like some of these people on the outside maybe don't, she came to Nottingham and trialled at Nottingham, didn't trial great at Nottingham. She's gone to Swindon. And Swindon, as much as people might think it's not, it's a track you need to have a look round probably. She's gone to the bends. She's got crowd up at the bends. Come around the fourth bend. She hasn't looked happy with the dogs around her. She's not run it great. If she went back this weekend, she'd probably go and Walston. So,
Yeah.
you know, Crayford, she's been around Crayford and she was run cracking like Crayford. And you think, well, if they don't run the bends that well and they're a bit wary, Crayford would be terrible. But when she's out in front, she runs them. If she'd have gone out in front at Swindon, I think she'd have romped in at Swindon.
Yeah, as I said, we're arguing. I'm not necessarily saying that if it was my choice, I would insist that the dog have to run trials, but I'm certainly trying to open the argument up a little bit. It's not a black and white view. I mean, certainly GRA days when I was a kennel lads, if a dog was beaten a long way, then it retrialed. It was as simple as that. And if you didn't like it, you took your dog away. Now, I'm not been a fan of that, which of course then leads us on to this rule, which again has been debated. I think Paul Lawrence was particularly vocal about this SIS need for, or well, certainly a requirement for their tracks that they should have extra trials for the, was it the protection of the punter or the encouragement of the punter, or
This is one what really, really annoys me. You've got racing managers who you're paying money for using their expertise. They've always got the option there if they're not happy if a dog gets bumped and they get clear run, stumbles out the traps and they want to have another trial. But to make a carte blanche rule to say we want 3 trials, who's paying for this other trial? The owner would have been getting paid for the race, so they're losing money. So it's costing either the owner or trainer yet again, and it's always also their costs. So if you want to make a carte blanche rule, say there's another extra trial, pay them for the extra trial. Now, if it started costing the media companies for the extra trials, they'd probably turn around and say, "Well, we're happy with this. We'll stick with 2." Now, on the other flip side of it, if they're saying, "Well, with the 3 trials, it gives more confidence in their product to the bookmakers and the punters, etc., out there," why are they opening at 140% and rounding off at like 128? If the product is so good, why haven't you got as much confidence in it to open at 128 and come down to 120? So it's like you want the cake and eat it. Well, we've got confidence, but we're still going to try and draw as much out of it as we can. That's not fair. You can't play the game that way.
No, I think the other thing that's happened from the days when those rules were first drawn up, and to my knowledge, they are probably at least 20 years old, if not, not older. The amount of protection that the bookmakers now have, everything from obviously the fewer number of tracks, which mean trainers are very much more vulnerable in case anybody does decide to get clever. You lose your contract, you may never train at a track again. They've got internal security in terms of, software in the betting shops that if they recognises people's handwriting, they can track everything to a £10 bet. They're not going to get caught for any great degree of money, even if it does go wrong for them. So to suggest that they need that extra level, talk about belt and braces and another set of braces, it just seems way over the top to me.
Yeah, and like I say, it's costing the owners and costing the trainers again, not costing them. And it's easy to bring things in place when it's not costing you. I could put loads of things in place on tracks, what I think maybe they should do this, maybe should do that. They turn up straight away and say, "Well, who's paying for that? We've got a business to run. It's a cost." Well, this is costing us on the ground, and we can't afford to have this costing us. And I don't think it's acceptable. If you've got people what you think I don't trust them. You're employing them. You know, you've took these people on. Well, there you are. And why, if you've got one road or one area you're not so happy about, you're attacking everybody else because of this one little area. You know, sort it out in house. Don't cost everybody. It's unacceptable. And then to open at 140 and coming into 128 when you've got something you think you've got right at the top of the shelf, that's not acceptable.